Please be seated. The court is now back in session. And hello, Madam Thon. Witness, yes, Mr. President. President, thank you. Let me resume our proceedings. And again, I'd like to hand the floor to the co-counsel for Khieu Samphan to put more questions to the witness. Witness, thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. To finish with the place, the office where you met Mr. Khieu Samphan on that day, you said, and I understand very well, that you don't remember exactly where it was in Phnom Penh. I also understood that you had concluded that it was an office of foreign commerce because people went there in order to order things from abroad. So my complementary question is to ask if there was any kind of inscription on the building. When you entered, was there any kind of a mention, inscription that said exactly what the place was?
No, there was no such a sign or label, and I think it happens to all ministries.
Do you want to say that at the Ministry of Social Affairs there was also nothing marked, nothing indicated?
Yes, that is correct. There was no indication. There was no label or a posting indicating that it was a Ministry of Commerce or a Ministry of Social Affairs.
I'd like to come back to something you said a bit ago. You said that just next to the Ministry of Social Affairs, there was an Office of Commerce. Did I understand that correctly? And could you tell us exactly what type of office that was?
I know that adjacent to it there was a Ministry of Commerce, and I couldn't catch the second part of your question.
So the Ministry of Commerce was adjacent to the Ministry of Social Affairs, and the office in which you met Mr. Khieu Samphan was a different office. Did I understand your testimony correctly?
Yes, it was elsewhere. The meeting was not held at the adjacent Commerce. It was somewhere else.
Dans ma traduction en français,
in the French version, I heard the meeting was not held at the ministry adjacent or in the office adjacent to the Ministry of Commerce. Did you mean, or did you say, it wasn't at the office adjacent to the Ministry of Social Affairs?
No, it was not at the Ministry of Commerce, which was adjacent to it, because I went to the Commerce for only one time when my elder sister arrived, and the meeting was not held there.
D'accord.
All right. And just to be certain that we're in agreement on the level of vocabulary, when you say adjacent, did you mean that the two buildings were stuck directly together, one right next to the other, or did you mean that it was nearby?
The Ministry of Commerce was across the road. It was directly across the road. It was not next to one another.
D'accord. Et
All right, and when you talk about these two buildings, could you please clarify if you're talking about the Ministry of Commerce and the office in which you met Mr. Kirsampon, or are you talking about the Ministry of Social Affairs?
When I met Kirsampon, I met him elsewhere, and it was not at the Ministry of Social Affairs, no, it was at the Ministry of Commerce. It was at a separate location.
And just to be sure that I've correctly understood, do we agree that to go from the Ministry of Social Affairs to the Ministry of Commerce, you didn't need to take any type of car, you could go on foot?
Yes, you could just walk across the road and you arrived.
je vous remercie de ces
Thank you for these clarifications. Now I'd like to ask you several follow-up questions on the issues of medicines that were the questions, follow-up and questions that were asked by my colleague, Mr. Kope. You indicated that you yourself were in charge of distributing medicines, the medicines that had been sent to the various zones of Democratic Kampuchea. You also spoke of the products that were used in order to make medicines. So my question is as follows. Did you know about the existence of laboratories that were used to make medicines? That's my first question, and I'll have others afterwards.
No, I did not. I did not have any relationship with Choi Changwa, where there was a laboratory there. As for the traditional Khmer medicine production unit, I went there once. And in fact, over there they use tree barks and for the medicine production. I went there once, since my husband was working there before I got married to him. And that was the only time.
Alors,
It seems there was a small problem with interpretation because I didn't say that you had a link with the laboratories. I simply asked if you knew about the existence of the laboratory. From your answer, I understand that you did know that there was a laboratory. So my next question is...
Yes, I do.
d'accord.
All right. You spoke of a laboratory for Khmer medications. Was there a laboratory for medicines that were created differently, such as Western medicines, if I can use that expression, medicines which were created by pharmacists?
No, I did not know about that laboratory.
Donc, si je comprends,
So if I've understood correctly, all of the medicines, other than homeopathic ones, if I can use that, they must have been ordered from the outside from outside of DK. Did I understand that correctly?
No. The natural medicines were produced in Cambodia according to their policy. Treatment shall be done in a traditional way by relying on these herbal medicines, so then there was no need for overseas or such medicines from overseas, and thus they relied on these traditional herbal medicines.
Vous-même,
You yourself said that you distributed medicines and that one of your tasks was to go and get a certain number of medicines that were available in Phnom Penh and to distribute them to various parts of the country. So my question is as follows. Among the medicines that you distributed, were there both traditional Khmer medicines and Western type medicines?
I did not distribute the Khmer traditional medicines. As for the medicines which had left in Phnom Penh, we went around gathering them, we registered them, and then they were ready for distribution. Those medicines were Western type, and they were left over from the previous regime.
et
And up to the time when you left the Ministry of Social Affairs to go and work in agriculture, were you still distributing Western type medicines, or had you changed the type of medicine that you distributed?
After my husband had been taken away, if I understand your question correctly, I was no longer trusted in, and I was removed from my previous workplace and reassigned to work at Chamka Ampo, and I was there alone.
dans ces conditions, est-il exact?
In these conditions, is it correct to say that you didn't know who carried out the distribution of medicines after that, or the origin of the medicines that were distributed?
Yes, that is correct. I did not know.
Je voudrais maintenant
Now I'd like to take up another line of questioning. I'd like to talk about your marriage and what you said yesterday in this regard.
Sorry to interrupt because you're changing the subject. Now, just have one question because I'm a bit confused now. Did I understand you correctly, witness, when it comes to the medicine? And I'm talking at the moment so-called Western medicine. The only medicine you distributed was medicine you collected because it had been left over from pre-Khmer Rouge times. Did I understand that correctly?
I do not understand your question regarding this gathering of this medicine.
You said you distributed Western medicine and you had got this medicine, you collected this medicine in town, and this was medicine left over from pre-Khmer Rouge times. Did I get that correctly, or is this incorrect?
Yes, that is correct.
Then you were confronted by Counsel for Nunchia with lists of medicine supposed to come from China. Did you ever distribute medicine that came from China or any other country?
I saw medicine from China, but I did not see any other medicine from other countries.
And that medicine came in during the Khmer Rouge period, if you know that.
I did not know. I only saw that those medicine was from China. As for the IV,
This was not the same medicine you collected.
there were other medicines that were produced locally during the period.
I understand. But the medicine you saw from China, you said you saw medicine from China. Was that the medicine or some of the medicine you collected? Or was this medicine which you had additionally to the medicine collected from pre-Khmer Rouge times?
There were some new medicines which newly arrived, and the labels were in Chinese, while other medicines were left over from the pre-Khmer Rouge times. That is, and they were Western type medicines.
Thank you.
Du coup,
And to follow up on the question of Her Honor Judge Vance, Madam Witness, you said that you worked on collecting medicines from the former regime because you spoke French. So my question is, did you know if within the Ministry of Social Affairs there were people who spoke Chinese and who were in charge of dealing with the medicines that were received from China? Do you know that? If you don't, just say so.
I know that there were people who could read Chinese, but I did not know how they communicated with China, whether it was done through an interpreter or not.
d'accord.
All right. So now I'll move to another line of questioning. This is follow-up on what you said yesterday regarding our marriage. I believe that I understood yesterday that the first person who spoke to you about marriage was the wife of the deputy of Madame Su. Did I understand that correctly?
It was Bong Su who organized my marriage.
J'ai compris que c'est bon.
I had understood that it was Bong Su who arranged your marriage. What I wanted to know was who spoke to you about the marriage the first time. Was it Bong Su herself? Or was it the wife of her deputy?
It was the wife of a deputy who was a Khmer Lư and who came to ask me for my opinion because Anka wanted me to get married. It was not Bongsu herself who came to ask me about that. Bongsu sent someone to ask me.
D'accord.
All right. So yesterday, just after 2:59 and 13 seconds in the afternoon, you said 3 or 4 months before the decision that I should get married was taken, I was contacted to see if I wanted to get married, end quote. When you say this, were you talking about your first conversation with the wife of Bongsu's deputy? Did I understand that correctly?
I do not fully understand your question. However, she came to ask me and said that the person who's organized by Anka to get married and what was my opinion about him.
D'accord.
All right. And at that time, she was speaking to you about your husband-to-be. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Est-ce que
At one time or another, did you ever have a direct discussion with Bongsu about your husband? And before the discussion, to know if he had already been married or if he had a fiancée. Yesterday, you said that initially you had refused to get married, saying that you weren't ready, and that then you had asked Bongsu if he had a romantic past. So my question is, in your first discussion with Bongsu on the topic of your marriage, was that the conversation during which you asked her questions about the past of the man they proposed to be your husband?
Yeah.
Yes. But it was not directly with Bongsu. It was through someone who came to ask me. That is the wife of the deputy. And the person was the one who conveyed the message from Bongsu to me. And I did not have this direct conversation with Bongsu before I got married, and I relate my response, and the person conveyed my response to Bongsu.
donc si je comprends
So, if I understand correctly, Bongsu never knew directly exactly what you said. It was simply the words as they were conveyed by the wife of her deputy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
vous
You also talked about Ying Terit as the head of the Ministry of Social Affairs, and I thought that I understood that you didn't have much direct contact with her. Can you tell the Chamber how often you met her and under what circumstances?
did not see her frequently. Sometimes she asked for medicines, and that's when I met. And there was also a meeting that took place at the location where we worked with the medicines, but I did not have a daily contact with the person.
Vous avez
You said that in the context of your work at the Ministry of Social Affairs, if I remember correctly, you had about 20 people who were working under you, responding to your orders. And in the context of the interview with the investigators, you were asked a question about the notion, the idea of Ankar, and I'd like to go back to that. For you, at your level, what did the term Ankar mean?
Ankar means the person who had higher responsibility and not just a group chief or a person who was at that level. Ankar was the one who made decisions on behalf of your parents. Because usually for us, it was our parents who made decisions, but during the regime, it was Ankar. Ankar who had a senior responsibility.
donc dans votre
So in your statement, WRIE 3/370, and this was the question in French, 0034-2205. The ERN in English, 0034-5543, and in Khmer, 00349-546. And if you'd like to follow, Madam Witness, it's on page 4. So the question that was asked of you is as follows. Did you make links or have relations between the ministry and Ankar? And your answer was no. In my case, Ankar was my direct supervisor, Bongsu and Ingterit. I had to be Ankar for the people working under me, end quote. Does that correspond with how the notion, idea of Ankar was used at the time, that when people said Ankar, they were talking about their immediate supervisors?
I was never referred to as Ankar since I did not have any authority to make decisions for those people who worked under me. Without decision from Bongsu, I did not have any authority to make any decision further. And the most important thing about Ankar is that we, the people, were divided into two groups. One, party members, and another group was non-party members. And I belongs to the latter group, since I was never a party member. And I was tasked to work with medicines, and that was based on my expertise. If I were an Ankar, it means that I had to become a party member. And they needed me because of my knowledge and expertise.
Well, therefore, can you tell the chamber or explain to the chamber, because when I read your statement, I understood that what you meant by this was that for the people working below you, they considered you as Ankar. So can you explain to the chamber what you meant when you said I had to be Ankar for the people working under me?
I don't think that I was considered as an Angkar. It is true that I was in charge of medicines. I had the right to manage how the medicines were distributed. But I was not in charge of politics. People were divided into different areas, politics and special section. And I was in a special section, so I was not in charge of politics.
Now I would like to discuss another topic following an incident you described in your statement to the investigators. First, a general question. Between 1975 and in January 1979, were you ever made aware of a coup d'etat attempt against the leaders of Democratic Kampuchea?
I was not aware of it. The assassination of whom? Of which leader?
Maybe there was a problem in the interpretation. I did not speak about assassination. I spoke about an attempt of an attack. Maybe let me read your statement again, maybe to refresh your memory. So it's document E3/378 again. And for you, it's on page 2. French ERN 00342203. Khmer 00349540. English 00345541. And this is what you mentioned when you were interviewed. I would like to share with you an incident that might not seem important, but in 1977, I don't remember the exact date, however, I was at the reception of the ministry, and a guard gave me a package that had been delivered by 2 men. And in this package, there was food, and it was destined to Yang Tirit. I took the package to give it to Yang Tirit, but she did not want it, and she told me to keep it for myself. I was very happy. But when I opened the package, I noted that there were small shards of glass that had been mixed with the food, and of course I wasn't able to eat the food. Now, when I think about this again, I'm convinced that this was an attempt against Yang Tirit, but I never spoke about this to anyone. End of quote. So does this refresh your memory? Does this incident refresh your memory?
จ้า
Yes, I could recall it. I received mum, that is the Cambodian fermented fish with vegetable. I was told that an item was delivered to Ming Pier. I brought that mum and took it to Pier. She said that she did not need it, and she asked me to keep it. Later on, I opened the box and I could see the small broken things in the box. I noticed that and I threw away that box. I did not disclose this matter to anyone at the time.
Même pas Yang.
Not even to Yang Tirit?
จ้าខ្ញុំអត់
No, I did not tell her. I did not tell Bong Su and others either. I was not interested whether or not there would be a murder attempt. And later on, I started to learn that there would be something happened. In fact, when I opened the box, I could see the small things in the box.
When you tell us that I learned later on that something would happen, what were you speaking about? What are you speaking about?
ពួកអី
Back then, I did not think that there was any internal conflict. Later on, I started to learn that there may have something happen among the people on the top. Later on, I heard that there was a disappointment in relation to Sun Sen's wife, and I learned that Sun Sen's wife and the person or Ingtirit had not getting along. So I started to learn that there may have something or argument within the regime. I received a bottle of mum or traditional fermented fish with a vegetable, and there were crumbling parts in the box when I opened it.
Quand vous dites
When you tell us that I learned later on that there had been problems above and that there might have been internal dissension, can you tell the chamber when you obtained that information and who relayed that information to you?
Until I arrived in France, I learned about that. She sometimes got angry with some people, and I was told by others in France that she did not get along well with the Son Sen's group. It was until I arrived in France, I met people who had lived through the Khmer Rouge period. It was by then that I had the opportunity to discuss about the life experience in the regime. So it was not an accident that I received such a box, and I did not really understand at all at the time who did not get along with whom.
Just to be clearer about your answer, when you say they didn't get along well, so we agree that you're speaking about Yeng Tirit here, is that correct?
Yes, she was always complaining about Son Sen's wife. When I met her, I talked to the investigator when the investigator interviewed me. I met Khieu Samphan and I gave the purchase order to Khieu Samphan, and Khieu Samphan went to see me in order to return the purchase order, but at the time Khieu Samphan did not see me since I had already left to do the farm work, and Ieng Tirit at the time got angry with Khieu Samphan because she thought that Khieu Samphan should have been to see her instead of seeing me. And at the time, I did not know whether or not Ieng Tirit got angry with me because of the fact that Khieu Samphan came to see me instead of going through her, since Ieng Tirit was a person who had overall supervision at the Ministry of Social Affairs.
Fine, but since you were no longer there, who gave you that information, and when?
There was a person telling me that Khieu Samphan came to see me and Pierre got angry. She got angry because of the reason that Khieu Samphan came to see me instead of going through her. That person was the one who stood guard at the entrance going into the compound of the ministry.
Fine. And when did you learn about this?
On the same day or the day after, or perhaps a few days after that incident. It was not long after that incident. Why I said that? Because I had to prepare and process all documents in order to go to buy the raw materials abroad. Upon my arrival from the farm, I did not have any documents ready to submit to Pierre, and Pierre sent a person to ask me why I did not have the documents ready, and I replied that I did not have time to prepare the documents because I had to go to the farm and worked. I was not successful in preparing the documents because it was not within my expertise. I was at the time sent to work in the farm. I was told by that person that Ming got so angry, got so furious with me. And she told me that Pierre was not happy because Khieu Samphan went directly to see me without going through her. I did not know why and what happened to her. That is why she got angry with Khieu Samphan. If she had really been so furious with Khieu Samphan, there would have been something happening to me. Pierre got furious and got angry with this person and that person. Perhaps this was her nature.
Well, regarding, in fact, Ying Tirit, you said that you received this package. So do you know where this meal that was destined for her came from?
ខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងផងពួកគេមក
I do not know about that. There was a person who was there to receive, and when I entered, I was told that there were two men on a car and delivered that box, the bottle to Ying Tirit.
Est-ce que vous avez...
Did you hear about another incident of this kind, in particular during the visit of a Laotian delegation, corrects the interpreter?
I did not catch your question well, Counsel.
Je vous demandais si...
I was asking you if you heard about a similar kind of incident, that is to say, an attempt to poison someone that took place at the Ministry of Social Affairs during a visit of a Laotian delegation.
អត់ទេ
No, I never heard of it at the time.
Je vous dis ça
I'm telling you this because on the case file, and we have document E3/659, which is the retranscription of an interview of Ying Tirit by Elizabeth Becker, in which Ying Tirit speaks about a trip or a visit by a Laotian delegation, and they traveled to the east of the country, and at ERN French 0074360, and at the following ERN2. So in order to follow in all three languages, because I don't believe I have here the ERNs in English, so it's a little bit before 9 minutes in this retranscription. So it's between the 9th and the 11th minute. So my team has just given me the ERNs. Khmer, it's from ERN 00741135 onto the following page. And in English, 0018233 onto the following page. And in this interview, Ying Tirit speaks about a trip to the east of the country with a Laotian delegation. She doesn't remember if it was in 1977 or 1978. And she says that we visited Kampong Cham, the eastern area, and then Kampong Tom, and then Siem Reap, and then Angkor Wat finally. And when we traveled to the east back then, the east was under Sao Pim's control. And they tried to poison us and to poison the Laotian delegation as well, these Vietnamese agents. So you see how treacherous they can be with our co-citizens. And the following, and then the journalist asks, how do you know that they tried to poison you? And Ying Tirit answered, yes, let me tell you. From the east, we went to Kampong Tom to go to Siem Reap and to Angkor Wat. And when we arrived in Kampong Tom, we had left early that morning, and they had prepared packages of food for us, you see. The person in charge of the east and the spouse of the deputy chief and the members of the main committees of the region had prepared this food for us. They were in charge of cooking for us then. And they repeated to me, I don't remember how many times, that Sao Pim had asked them to pay great attention because people might try to poison us, etc., etc. This is why they cooked on their own. And they repeated this to me, I don't remember how many times, but this did surprise me. And then she continues with her explanations on the same page on how the people ate, finally speaking, and then how a certain number of people became sick. And she says a little bit after the 12th minute, she says that when she was informed that a great number of her staff members who had eaten that food had become ill, she took measures to wash their stomachs, and she gave them medicine in order to try to alleviate this intoxication. So since Ying Tirit is speaking about many, many people, she's speaking about 30 people, in fact, who apparently were poisoned. So when you were working at the Ministry of Social Affairs, did you ever hear at one point or in time about a delegation that apparently became ill without even necessarily knowing exactly what happened? Did you hear about several people who became ill then?
President, Madam Witness, please hold on. You may now proceed. Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that there is some confusion here, and I don't think that the witness will be able to answer this question because Ying Tirit had several functions. She was Minister of Social Affairs, but she was also the President of the Women's Association, and maybe even the President of the Red Cross. So it's in her, as she was working as the President of the Women's Association, that she received a delegation of Laotian as well as Vietnamese women. So I think we're quite far removed from the subject here, and in particular from anything dealing with the Ministry of Social Affairs. Answer. Well, if the co-prosecutor had allowed the witness to answer, and if she had said that she didn't know, well, we would have had an answer to that question. So, therefore, the prosecutor's remarks would not have been necessary. So, let me continue. Witness, were you informed of such an incident? And if so, who informed you of this? And if not, I will not insist further.
ខ្ញុំសូមឆ្លើយបានទេ
Allow, can I answer now, Mr. President? President, yes, you can. I do not know about that. I was not aware of the poison attempt, and I was not aware of the visit made by of the visit either. I did not know what happened on that day. President, do you still have a lot of questions, and I will say, so that I could have some preparation for the chamber?
Mr. President, I wanted to tell you that I was done with my questions, so I think you'll be happy to hear that.
បាទអរគុណអង្គជំរះអរគុណលោកស្រី
President, the chamber is grateful to you, Madam Siton. The hearing of your testimony has now come to an end, and your testimony will contribute to the ascertainment of the truth. You may now be accused. I wish you good luck, good health, and prosperity. And my appreciation goes also to the technician who assisted in arranging the video link in the beginning until the end. You may also be accused. You may now, you can now relax. Goodbye. It is now time for the adjournment. The chamber will resume its hearing on Monday, 28 November 2016 at 9 a.m. And on Monday, 28 November 2016, the chamber will hear 2 TCW 876, and there is a reserve witness 953 in relation to role of the accused. And the full schedule for next week and the following weeks will be informed via email by the senior legal officer as soon as possible. Please be informed and please be on time. Security personnel are instructed to bring the accused Nuon Chi and Kyo Sampon back to the ECC detention facility and have them returned into the courtroom on 28 November 2016 before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.